Hey everybody, Megalor31 back here for FSI DFS. We've got 3 days left in Major League Baseball. Thank you so much for still joining us here. Had an amazing weekend across the board. MLB was very strong on Friday, on Saturday. Yesterday went well too. And then like with NASCAR and EPL and NFL, it was a very nice weekend for myself. So hopefully you guys had a good weekend too. But there's still some money to be made, so we're going to break down this slate. Slates are a little bit weird this week. You'd think things would be petering out and there'd only be like a couple games playing, but it looks like, we've got full slates. There's like a 4-game turbo slate, and then we've got an 11-game slate here for the night game for Maine. And then tomorrow we got a couple double headers, so our team's trying to make up things, and a pretty substantial 11 or 12 game Maine slate. Then Wednesday, it's like the weirdest. It's the last day of the season. Every single team plays. It's almost like the EPL does. And I think they do it on purpose just in case there's like teams tied, so like nobody's tanking or can like, throw out like their C team lineup or not field a competitive lineup if they know they're already out. So every single team plays around 4 o'clock. It's like 4:05, 4:10, 4:15. They're all kind of staggered. So you're going to have all 30 teams in action around 4 p.m. So it should be quite the interesting slate for that. And then McKinley and I were talking. We'll see what we can do to if people are still watching, we'll continue to put out content and videos for some of the playoff slates, just to kind of talk about some strategy for the showdowns and the different divisional series and stuff. And if that starts to like fade out and we have like only like 50 viewers or so, then perhaps we'll talk about like we did last postseason, opening up the Discord. MLB channel for free like we do for spring training. So keep that in mind also for February and March when spring training starts up. We probably won't be doing videos till the season starts, but check our Twitter. We'll announce like for spring training. Last couple of years we've done it free of charge, and actually we've done really quite well between McKinley and I. We've taken down the main GPP 2 or 3 times like each preseason. So I'm looking forward to helping you guys again next year. So anyways, let's get into today's slate. So first game we have is Toronto and Baltimore. Toronto has the top wild card clinched. Baltimore is out of it. A good surge towards the end of the year is going to make the AL East very, very competitive next year. You got to think Boston's going to reload and get better. Baltimore's got a core of young talent. Toronto's going to be in it. The Yankees should still be in it. Tampa Bay seems to always hang around also. So it should be very, very interesting there. So Jose Barrios has just looked horrible. I don't even know if he's going to make it in the rotational spot for the postseason. So I think this is his last chance to kind of prove himself here. Dean Kramer on the other side, not very interested in. It's going to be a very disgusting game, like weather-wise, like 52 degrees. The wind's blowing in like 6 miles per hour. It looks like there's about 40 to 50% chance of rain, a light rain, so they'll probably get the game in, but it'll just be wet and miserable. So I don't think it's a good hitting slate, and I don't really like Barrios. I left him as a cheap option just in case, like I said, if he's out there to try to prove himself, like I am worthy of having a rotational spot here and be part of the plan for the playoffs, I think you definitely can consider him. Kremer on the other side, unless the Blue Jays throw out a complete AAA lineup, then I'm not interested. And the Bats are throwing the 150 max one because I'm just really not interested in them either. I just think that it's just such a miserable game weather-wise in the conditions and the ballpark that I'm just completely off an 11-game slate. Yankees and Rangers, Luis Severino and Martin Perez. Severino is going to go out there as kind of a tune-up game too, just to kind of see what his role is going to be. Probably definitely on a pitch count. Usually you think around like 85. So at 9.8, I don't really think he gets it done. I left him in the high category, but he probably should be more over in the no interest category for me. Perez on the other side too is a decent mid-range pitcher. Again, we'll just have to check the Yankees lineup there. Clinch the second seed. Judge will probably still be out there, and this is another good chance against this lefty for him to finally hit his second 60-second home run there. And if the Yankees lineup is full out there, then I'm fine with them in a GPP. If they aren't, then I'm really not interested, or I might take some one-offs there in GPPs. Texas against Severino, not super interested. The Yankees have a decent bullpen, and I think, I think Severino might get some ownership if people like look at the name and don't look at the situation. So Texas could be a decent leverage stack, probably low owned, but that's about it for that. Tampa Bay and Boston, you have Tyler Glasnow, same thing, coming out to try to ramp up his pitch count. He went to about 3 innings last time out, coming back, just trying to get back in the swing of things. Rich Hill on the other side is a very, very interesting situation because he doesn't really get strikeouts. He's an older pitcher. I think he's like 42, 43 years old. He's a free agent after the season. This could be his last career start. So, is he going to go out there and dominate? No, but is he going to go out there at 5-5 and have a solid performance? I don't know about that. I have him in my no interest category, but I might slide him over to the cheap side just because like he opens up a lot of salary to get some really decent stacks in there. So I'm really considering Rich Hill just based on the narrative, because here's the other narrative that I want to be aware of also. The AL is not completely wrapped up positional wise. Like we know all the teams that are going to make it. So we know that Houston and the Yankees have the first round bye. We know Cleveland's going to host the wild card game because they're the third division winner and they're going to play the worst wild card team, which is kind of ideal because the second wild card team has to go and face Toronto in Toronto, which is I think is sometimes a tougher matchup than going to Cleveland and facing Cleveland. Just at this point. So if you look at Seattle and you look at Tampa Bay, like they've lost I think 4 out of their last 6. So are they tanking? Are they trying to not go to Toronto? I don't know. I don't want to read into it too much. But if you're in a GPP, if you're thinking Rich Hill, last start, let him go out there, maybe throw one last gem of a game. He's not going to throw a perfect game. He's not going to throw a complete game shutout by any means. But if Tampa Bay rolls out a watered down lineup because they're trying to lose, because they don't want to go to Toronto, they'd rather go face Cleveland, then Rich Hill might be very interesting here. Bat-wise, again, Tampa Bay GPP against Rich Hill is a great matchup if they have their full lineup and they actually seem like they're going to be trying. If they don't, I have no interest. Boston on the other side, same thing. They really rolled out a really watered-down lineup. If you want to go home run hunting and take Devers against Glasnow in the bullpen, I'm okay with that. But there's really nothing that really excites me on this Boston team. I think it's just, let's get some of these young guys in here still. Like Casas, maybe also. He's got some tremendous power. He's going to be an important part next year. And I think, if they can get Jeter Downs up, and there's a lot of guys that can really backfill into this Boston lineup here to make an impact going forward. I think it's like the next time we kind of turn over the the generational lineup here of Boston going forward. I don't know if they're going to keep Story. Like he just injured so much and they paid him so much, and they got Pham too at the trade deadline. So it should be some interesting things with Boston going forward. But as for today, I'm not interested. Moving on. Also here, the wind's blowing in 10 miles per hour and it's going to be 52 degrees. No precipitation, but that also is going to help with the pitching. So I don't know. This might be Rich Hill GPP SP2 day. Nationals and the Mets here, Corey Abbott and Carlos Carrasco. I'm not interested in Corey Abbott at all. The wind will be blowing in here at 16 miles per hour and it's only 57 degrees, so it's not going to be great hitting weather. But I do think that the Mets they have to win out. So I think Carrasco I like as a pitcher, and the Mets I like as my favorite stack here, even with the wind, because Corey Abbott has been absolutely horrible. Righties and lefties. I think that the Mets will go out there and have the potential to put up a decent amount of runs here. And then also on the Washington side of it, I'm not interested. There'll be a leverage stacker against Carrasco. I can't even call them cheap because like Meneses is like 5-1. The rest of the stack is pretty cheap here, but there's not anybody that really super excites me. And if Carrasco is struggling, I think they'll pull him pretty quickly and go to the bullpen, because if Atlanta's losing also, then they're still keeping pace with them. So because Atlanta needs to win one. So, I mean, today if both of them lose, it's the same situation. At that point, the Mets would just have to win the next 2. They'd have a tie, and then I don't know if they go to a tiebreaker, probably play on Thursday another game. So, Washington, no Abbott, no bats. Mets really like the bats here, even with the weather conditions, and like Carrasco. Arizona and Milwaukee Brewers, Tommy Henry and Brandon Woodruff. Not interested in Henry at all. Woodruff, I think, is the top pitcher on the slate. Milwaukee is 2 games back of Philadelphia. They're still in striking distance. They're trying to take that final wild card spot. And Woodruff, I think, is going to go out there. He'll pitch a full game. This is a playoff game. This is an elimination game. Every game's an elimination game for them. Also, same kind of as the Mets, although the Mets will be in the playoffs. They'll just be the wild card and not the division winner. Milwaukee, they're facing complete elimination and staying home and, starting their offseason earlier than they want to. So, love the Milwaukee bats also, especially against the lefty. The righties, McCutchen should lead off. Renfroe is awesome against lefties, Adames, Yelich, I probably would skip in my stack here. Bracheo is usually mid-price on FanDuel's 2-3 on DK, third base here. Even a wraparound with Tyrone Taylor, Carantini at catcher. There's a lot of really, really solid options on this Milwaukee team. So I really like them hitting wise. The Diamondbacks, I'm not interested in. They would just be a YOLO leverage stack against Woodruff if you think for some strange reason he really struggles and lefty powers just completely take over here. Then throw it in for $1. But other than that, not interested in that side of the game. Really interested in the Brewer side of the game. Minnesota and the Chicago White Sox. This is kind of a cross-off game. Again, wind blowing in 4 miles per hour, about 60 degrees there. Olber and Cueto. Cueto really doesn't have a high K rate. He's a decent real-life pitcher, but for DFS purposes is not really paying off much. Olber, same thing. I think Olber, definitely makes sense as a cheap pitcher because the White Sox, they're just shutting guys down left and right. So nowhere, not really interested in the pitchers, but I think you can keep Olber in your player pool if you're multi-entering. Twins, I always like them as a cheap stack here. Especially like the lefties, like Gordon is always cheap and has some power. 3K, Cave, Miranda and Correa and Arrasia. I could play all 5 of those in a cheap stack. I'm okay with that. Not one of my preferred stacks, but I think they're more fill-ins if you need them with your primary stack. But, if you want to throw a twin stack out there, I'm okay with it. And then White Sox, I don't really like many here. Mark Payton, I think, is going to be a really good player at 2-2, batting second, has shown power in minor league baseball. Sorry about that. And like I said, they already shut down so many players here. Like maybe Gavin Sheets, too, the lefty against Ober, but I'm not taking a full stack of the White Sox by any means. Philly and Houston, here's another interesting matchup. You have Aaron Nola and Lance McCullers. Aaron Nola, I think, is definitely in a great spot here again. I think it's something where Philly has to continue to win to stay ahead of the Brewers, or they could be on the outside looking in. So I think Nola goes out there, and I don't know if we get the full Astros. Like Astros have absolutely nothing to play for. I think they're like the Dodgers that continue to put out their lineups just to keep the guys fresh and keep getting them at bats and keep them in rhythm. But I do think over these 3 days, just getting. I mean, they've got to keep their guys fresh because they're going to have like a 3-4 day off like weekend for. I don't know if they do split squad or something, or it's almost like a mini all-star break, because with these buys, we've never had this before, where they're going to have to sit out like almost a whole weekend waiting for that to finish before the second round. So be very interesting to see what happens and how these teams treat that. And the teams affected by that right now are Houston, LA, and the New York Yankees, and then it's either going to be the Mets or the Braves, and most likely the Braves at this point. So Nola, I think, is definitely decent, but it depends on the Houston lineup. Again, really need to keep their foot on the gas here, and he is a really good pitcher, and he's going to have to face good teams in the playoffs, so why not, go out there and get him some work with that just to keep his confidence high. McCuller on the other side, he gives up a lot of walks, and he was sick. He hasn't pitched in like 11 or 12 days, so don't know how deep he's going to go. At 10-3, I really am not interested in him whatsoever, especially against this Phillies lineup. Like, got a lot of power lefties here. Philly, I think, makes our top GPP stack, but they're so expensive. 5-6, 5K, 6-3 for Harper, 6K for Real Muto. I mean, it's going to be low owned because people are not going to pay these prices. So if you can make it work, you're probably going to have to play like two mid-range pitchers here to fit it in, and then maybe take some like cheap one-offs to make it work. But it's something very intriguing here. FanDuel is not as bad, but on DK it is expensive. Houston on the other side, again, I just put him as a leverage stack against Nola. Again, it all depends on the lineup. If you're playing 150 lineup still, or even a 20 max of Houston stacks, okay, but I'm really not touching them against Nola at this point. Tigers and Mariners, Brian Garcia against George Kirby. Kirby, I know they were starting to limit him a little bit before the playoffs, just because they wanted to keep him fresh, and now that they've made it, I think, he gets like 85, 90 pitches, so I think he's safe here against the Tigers, right-handed. Even if he only goes 5 or 6 innings, he should get enough points to pay off his 9K salary. So I think he's going to be my favorite SP2 on the slate here for cash. Garcia on the other side, I'm not interested at all. The Tigers, again, they would just be a leverage stack. They don't put up a ton of runs, don't have a ton of power here. Probably would focus on the lefties. I don't see him in the lineup right now, but as I was trying to put my Solar lineup together, I think I'm going to play a Tiger stack just because they have 5 games. They have 4 games this week. They have a doubleheader tomorrow with the Mariners. And I saw that Haas had hit home runs in back-to-back games, and actually has looked really good 4 out of the last 5 games. So, like, he's not in the projected lineup, but if he's out there, somebody might be interested in it as a one-off in GPPs. And Mariners, I think, definitely will have a couple stacks of them against this pitcher, because again, I don't know how they're playing it, if they're trying to lose, if they're trying to win. Rodriguez should be back in the lineup after his injury, should be healed from that. He's taken some, batting practice, a bunch of swings, and he should be good to go. And they want him to get some at-bats and back in rhythm and tune back up for their playoff push also. So Mariners stack, yes. Kirby, really like. Tigers, leverage stack there, not playing Tigers pitcher. San Francisco and San Diego. San Francisco's shutting everybody down, so I don't think you're going to see Cobb or Webb or any of the rest of their pitchers. So they're going to have an opener. I've seen many different people that they look like they're going to throw out there, and then Sean Hageli, who's been decent. So I have fade the San Francisco situation, but if at 7-2, if you want to take some shots in 150 max, like maybe 5% or 3% on Sean Hageli, I think he's been decent. But this Padre lineup, again, they're getting tuned up for the postseason. Also, they've clinched a wild card spot, so they really have nothing to lose there. So definitely, we'll have to see what lineup they've put out there, but I think they make a really good stack against this like bullpen game of in San Francisco. I don't even think they're going to field like a decent team. So bat wise, I'm not interested in. I mean, they'll be cheap, but who knows? But here's the upside of it potentially. Now that they're not care as much and they're like kind of in like like play out the rest of the season, maybe some of the people don't get pitch hit as much, or like when they play the matchup. So maybe there's especially if like the Padres put up a crooked number on them, then I don't think that we're going to be mixing and matching lefties and righties versus the bullpen. I think they're just going to play it out. So that might be bode well for some of these San Francisco bats. So especially lefties like Peterson, Yastrzemski, Crawford, Wade Jr. if he's in there, if he's hitting higher in the lineup. So San Francisco could be a sneaky cheap stack in GPPs there. San Diego, like I said, I really like. I think I like the Dodgers, Mets, Milwaukee, and Seattle better, but I think they're definitely in play here. And Musgrove, I think, is a pitcher. Again, he struggled a little bit too, but this is a good chance to go out there and get right and get tuned up, just like not as bad as Barrios, but I think this is a chance to go out and have a strong performance to get some momentum going into the postseason. Angels and Athletics, Patrick Sandoval is a trap. He has had some good outings, and you look at the matchup against Oakland and you think, okay, this is great, but last time out he had the same great matchup and he just got blown up by them, and he was the chalk on a slate and just absolutely failed. So I think he's in play here in the medium range, but I don't think I'm going to be playing much of him. Maybe 10% or less in GPPs if I'm 150 maxing. And Adrian Martinez on the other side, I'm not interested at all. So I think the Angels make a very, very good GPP stack here, depending on what lineup they throw out there, especially, Ohtani with the lefty-righty matchup. So Logan Ohape, here is not a bad young hitter. Plays catcher. He's only 2.3K on DK, so I think he might be my punt guy of the night there against Martinez in this Oakland bullpen. So, definitely play some Angels tonight. Sandoval play limited just because, just looking at the last results, I don't know. Maybe he goes out and does what we expected him to do last time when he was chalk, and people fade him because of the same reasons I just told you. And maybe he becomes like the ultimate play. So I don't know, but I think I'm only gonna trust in like 10%, maybe up to 15 if I'm feeling kind of frisky there. But other than that, the A's, I don't think they just make a cheap stack against Sandoval. But if he goes out and gets blown up again, the A's aren't ones that put up like a ton of power. I think they just maybe one of these guys will hit a home run if you can figure out which righty it's going to be. I probably would like Shea Langerland's the catcher they have, or Seth Brown's a lefty. And Sean Murphy, I'd go like either Murphy or Langerland, but both of them are catcher, which is unfortunate on DK. You can play them both on FanDuel. And then maybe sprinkle in some of the other guys to make a full stack if you want to, but again, GPP only. Final game we have is Colorado and the Dodgers, Urania and Gosselin. Gosselin, same thing, going out there, coming back, trying to throw some pitches and to get tuned up before the playoffs, to kind of figure out what his role is. If they need a fourth or fifth starter, they might call upon him, or he might be one that comes out of like the bullpen if one of the starters gets in trouble with in a game, and it's kind of like the long reliever role. So I don't know how long he's going to go at 10.1. Not going to pay that much to figure it out, even against a Rockies team that probably will struggle. I don't think he's going to have enough upside there to pay off his price tag. Urania on the other side, I'm not touching against this Dodger lineup. They just continue to put out strong lineups there. Like Betts rested yesterday, so I believe so he should be back in there. You might see some of the guys, but the bottom half and the guys that they fill in for this Dodgers are probably better than any like of the Oakland A's or some of the other teams that are like the smaller teams. The Dodgers B line could probably beat the A line of probably about 5 or 10 teams in MLB here. So they're definitely something that you can look to stack. Urania has been better recently away from Coors Field, but he's not like an elite pitcher, so he's definitely hittable. So definitely like some Dodgers. So with all that said, let's look at some lineup builds and get you on the way for your day. So as I said, I'm taking Woodruff as my SP1 and DK and Kirby as my SP2. I'm stacking the Mets. If you're scared off from the Mets, then you can throw Milwaukee in here in their dome. They should be, weather conditions should be better. So catcher, probably going to punt. Might probably play a lot of the Angels guy there, or maybe I'll just take a 2K guy because he's 2-3 if I need the $300 extra to make things work. Alonso or Vogelbach here, depending on who's in. Vogelbach has been struggling a little bit recently. He hit a home run yesterday. Alonso is good. Obviously 40 home runs on the season, having an amazing season. So if you can get up to Alonso, that's great. If you need some more cash to fill out the rest of your lineup, then Vogelbach's fine. McNeil is second base. Third base, you come to making the decision. Do you want Escobar for the Mets, or do you want to take like Brocheo? Third base here for who's really cheap. I think he's 2.3K for Milwaukee, because I think what works nice here is like a minor Milwaukee stack. So up at catcher, you could throw Carantini in there, or you can throw the Mets catcher if you don't have a fifth guy in your lineup, and you go like Brocheo at third base. And then taking Lindor, I'm taking Taylor, who usually bats ninth because, he's a righty. You can make a nice little wraparound stack there from Milwaukee. Nemo, I think McNeil plays outfield also. So if, you wanted to go like Herrera or somebody else in second base spot, like it just opens up a lot of options. So Mets are the primary stack I'm going for. I'm going for some cheap Milwaukee guys, Woodruff and Kirby as pitcher. For FanDuel, I'm going Woodruff. I'm taking Alonso there, and again, it's the same thing. Second base could be McNeil, or you could play an outfield. Brocheo at third base, Lindor, Nemo, Renfroe, McCutcheon's cheap also, can throw him in there. So you're gonna have to play a one-off. Max Muncy, if he's in the lineup, is only 2,700. Has a really good matchup for second base. So if you want to fill in the second base there, McNeil in the outfield, and then figure out who works, for your utility with the money you have left, that works also. Finally, let's look at the GPPs builds for today. So I'm going with two pitchers that are getting tuned up for the playoffs, Musgrove and Carrasco. I think they go long enough and have decent matchups, so those are who I'm taking there. But like I said, if you want to throw Sandoval in there, it's going to be a little bit more risky, but it's a good matchup against Oakland on paper. It should be. If you want to try the Rich Hill experiment, then that's going to open up more salary for you too. So I want Milwaukee, the top guys tell us. I know it's lefty-lefty, but he's got really good numbers against lefties hitting. Brichet, Adams, Renfroe, Yelich if you want to. McCutchen could potentially lead off and be a good one to fill in for the outfield. And then give me some Padres also. So Cronenworth, if you want to upgrade, if you're playing Hill, you can probably get Manny over Brichet at third base there. Soda in the outfield. Profile usually leads off. That's where I'm going for that GPP. For a GPP for FanDuel, I'm taking Kirby, and then I am taking the Dodgers, and I am taking Seattle. So France or Will Smith at first base. You can maybe play the other one, the utility, if that's where I want to go. Muncy, Suarez, Turner if he's in, Haniger, and then if you want to go J-Rod or if you want to go Betts as in the outfield there. And then you're going to have to take a one-off. So however you build your line, I think, I'd probably lean more Dodgers if they have an A team out there than Seattle. But if Dodgers have like their B team out there, then take 4 Seattle, 3 of the Dodgers, and then, whatever positions left, throw your one-off in there, and we're good to go. So that's what I have for you. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Hit me up at Twitter, Megler31. If you want more information on FSI DFS and all the things that we're covering now, then just go to the description of the video. You can get our Discord for free. There's tons of things in play and information that we give you on different fantasy things, different games to play during NFL. Like we have cheap buy-ins for like pick'em weeks or for like squares for the Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night games, things like that. And there's other sports that we cover for free of charge. So just get into the community and see what we're all about. It doesn't cost you anything. And like I said, it's something you might want to sign up for too if we're going to do postseason for free or get ready for spring training next year. At least you'll be in there and see the notifications that we're covering it. So, and I believe McKinley's doing preseason hockey for free also. So there's another thing that you can check out there free of charge. Just all you have to do is get in our Discord. So please like the video if it helps you. Subscribe to our channel. We're so close to getting to 4,000. I think we need less than 150 more. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, then just please do it. It just helps us out. And we just really want to get to that 4,000 level. It'll just be so exciting, how we've grown in just such a short time. And we just appreciate everybody watching. So, thank you so much for tuning in. 2 more days of the regular season. Then we got the postseason. And, then hopefully an exciting off season of hot stove action and players moving around and new players coming up. And then we look forward to another successful year in 2023. So I'm Megler31. Good luck in your contest, and I'll see you next time.